We stay on that theme of Primary Tuesday, a historic one for Massachusetts in many respects. In today's Keller at Large, he's fresh off a win in the Democratic primary.
The candidate going up against Governor Charlie Baker in November. Jay Gonzalez sits down with John Keller.
Well, good morning. It was an interesting primary night here in Massachusetts, to say the least. And one of the big winners of Tuesday night's primary elections here in Massachusetts was our guest this morning, the Democratic nominee for governor, Jay Gonzalez. Jay, congratulations and welcome.
Thank you very much. It's great to be with you.
Good to have you back here, and we're looking forward to having you and Charlie Baker here for one of your debates as
so am I.
We get into the fall. It's going to be very interesting. We look forward to hosting that. Now, inevitably, whenever there's an incumbent, a major focus of the race is on the incumbent's record, but there's also going to be some focus on your record. So let's talk about that a little bit this morning. You were Secretary of Administration and Finance, the top budget official for about half of Governor Patrick's 2 terms. And as he left office, there was, to me, a kind of surprising poll that showed very mixed feelings about his tenure, even among Democrats. What can you tell those voters to reassure them that a Governor Gonzalez would do a better job?
Well, first, let me just thank you for having me this morning. It's great to be here. And I want to say on the election, which you mentioned, we're very proud of the result. Thousands of people helped us get the vote out, and it was very inspiring. I'm humbled and proud to be the Democratic nominee for governor and looking forward to this general election. So I'm Jay Gonzalez. I'm not Deval Patrick. I'm very proud of my record working for him in managing the state budget during the worst fiscal crisis we had faced in decades. And during that time, we got the highest bond ratings in state history. So I'm very proud of my record working for him, but I am running on my own agenda. I think we need a governor that's going to aim high, that's going to take on the big challenges that people face across the state, our broken transportation system, our education system that's leaving too many of our kids behind. And there's going to be a very clear choice in this election that we're presenting to voters between a governor that, in my view, is way too satisfied with the status quo and someone who's going to work to make a difference for all the little guys out there.
Let's talk about the status quo, but before we do, give us an example of something that you observed that happened during the Patrick years that you would do differently once you're in.
Yeah, so one of the things that I worked on before I left the Patrick administration was his big revenue proposal that he proposed 2 years before he left office. And it would raise $2 billion through tax reform that would have been invested in transportation and education. And one of the lessons I learned from that is we created that whole proposal in a room by ourselves. We didn't engage legislators, we didn't engage stakeholders, we didn't get their input to refine it and make the proposal as good as it could be, and it was dead on arrival. And I learned from that experience and many others I had working for Governor Patrick. I know that you've got to listen, you've got to work collaboratively, you've got to communicate, you've got to be transparent. And that's the approach I would take to being our governor. And I think it's going to put me in the position to hit the ground running. I've got a very ambitious progressive agenda to make a difference in people's lives. And I've got the experience based on that time with Governor Patrick to deliver on it.
I noticed Speaker Bob DeLeo, who's somewhat of a controversial figure in Democratic circles these days, was at the Unity rally the other day where you spoke. Is he going to endorse you?
He did endorse me that day, as did a number of other people. We're very proud to have the support of not only a number of the folks who were at that Unity event, but people who endorsed us over the course of this campaign. But this campaign is going to be won by regular people. As we saw in Tuesday's elections and in elections across the country, it doesn't matter whether you're an incumbent or have lots of money or the wealthy special interests are on your side or what the pundits say. People decide elections, and we've got a strong grassroots campaign, person-to-person interactions. That's how we won so big on primary night, and that's how we're going to win in the general election.
All right, Jay, let's pause, and when we come back, we'll talk a little more about the choice that our guest is offering voters in November with the incumbent, Charlie Baker. So please stay with us.